Thank you. It is definitely a development which I think is a tendency all over the world, where obviously people are using more, I would say, our internet platforms to order products. It's convenience, but I do not think that physical stores will disappear. Physical stores will have a right to be, but there will be probably a change of their function in the next 5 to 10 years where they will play a different role. Because in the end, if you buy something on internet, certain products, you do not want to buy without trying them, you do not want to buy it without seeing them, you do not want to buy it without feeling them. So yes, you can send something back, but it is convenient when you have then maybe certain advice and certain support, where certain products don't need that, other products do need a lot. But I think that the future of retail will be therefore continuing. I'm sure convinced that it will not disappear. And I think we need a little bit more time to learn the experiences, because the young people have tendencies to buy a lot through internet, where on the other hand they miss some emotional experiences that are maybe needed for the future. So we're in this in-between phase where we need to learn a little bit longer. But retail will remain, to my point of view, for still a long time. And yes, at the moment they're maybe not so happy, but again, also retailers have to start selling on internet. So if you don't do anything, then it's difficult. Well, I mean, every major company in the sporting goods business has started an online store. So the companies are definitely looking to go also B2C, to consumers, business to consumers, and you see that development happening. This is not only in the sporting goods industry, this is in all industries. So it's not just also Nike and Adidas, but it is, I would say, every serious brand is selling through internet nowadays and having a web platform nowadays. So that said, is that a problem? No, but there's a new tendency, there's a new development. 20 years ago we did not have internet. So it's a very short moment where things are disruptively changing, and that takes time. We have to understand a little bit where it's going, but it's a clear message from Nike and Adidas. They will not abandon selling also in retail stores. So yes, they have internet, but they will also sell in retail stores. The international sporting goods in China, the brands. I would say the advantage of the international brands existing already today is that they have a very long tradition. There's a sort of an heritage. That creates, I would say, also for the Chinese people, confidence. I mean, China has 2, 3 fantastic big brands. If this is Li Ning, if this is Anta, if it is 361, they're very successful. But still, a Nike and an Adidas are more successful in China. And the reason for that is because the people feel that these brands are very good, they're very solid, their quality is good. Although the Li Nings and Anta and 361s are also delivering good products. But people like to associate sometimes with something which is maybe sometimes a little bit older. So I don't think that any of the brands, I think first of all the Chinese brands will grow. They will become bigger and stronger. I'm convinced that they will become international also. And the international brands will come to China and will reinforce the Chinese market. And let's be very frank, there's a lot of space at the Chinese market. And I think also with the growth of the middle class, also the perception of sport and sporting goods products is increasing. And to be very frank, we have to start moving. We have to start become active as people for our health. So I think here China will be an example in the future. Okay, I mean, it's obvious that the Alibabas, the Taobaos of this world are obviously developing enormously. For sure, their growth has been rapidly. Very short period, enormous growth. I think that they become soon probably even the biggest sporting goods retailers. So if they will deliver most of the sporting goods products, and let's be very honest, it would be a wrong decision if major brands around the world or in China are not working with these organizations, because the consumer is going on these platforms, and if the consumer uses these platforms, that's what you need to work with. If, by the way, tomorrow these platforms would disappear, then obviously other platforms will probably come. But I think that's the fast changing market that could happen, and therefore I think that that it is not a problem to work with the Alibabas and Taobao. So. I can't give numbers here because I wouldn't have the appropriate numbers to share with you, which could be, I would say, valuable. We definitely can have certain numbers, but I'm not sure if the international brands have a different share than national brands. And it would not be different than what we have today also in the retail market. So I'm not sure if the reflection will start to differentiate that part. But one thing is very clear. The sporting goods market in China has still a lot of development possibilities. If this is through physical retail stores or if this is through internet stores. Because if you take, I give you just a small example, if you take the number of inhabitants of China, 1.2 billion, I'm rounding it up, I didn't count them exactly, towards the USA, where it is 400 million. Our turnover in the USA is about 100 billion US dollar. Our turnover in China at the moment with 1.2 million people is around 30 billion. If I would have the buying power that is used, the expenditure power of the US and translate it to China, I would grow 10 times the size. So the potential in China is enormous to grow the sporting goods business and business in general. So I think it comes together with the growth of China, with the maturity of China, because also China has been creating an enormous development within the country in the last 25 years. And that has been remarkable. I mean, you became a leader in the world on this issue. And I think when this is happening, everybody will be happy. That's a very interesting discussion because obviously we are discussing a lot about manufacturing. And if you look around the world already today, and certain of the industries are further than we are, there are certain industries which have been automatizing completely. They have robots, machineries, and there's no man labor anymore needed. We still have labor-intensive products today. Will that change? Yes, that will change. But it is not from today till tomorrow. It is a progressive change, but that progressive change is replaced by other needs of jobs. Because if I hire robots in a factory, I may need less workers, but I need different workers to maintain the robots. They need to be able to function. And you would see that all these kind of technologies and functionings are moving all over the place. This could be that you're at home, they will do your dishes, so you don't have to clean your dishes anymore in the evening in your house. Or they will help elderly people with robots to serve you. But you need people to serve these robots. You need to, so I would say the workforce in the next 20, 30 years will move into a different workforce on new jobs. And take the next example. 20 years ago, we did not have a social media expert. We did not have a social media manager. We did not have a internet service manager, etc. And all that today are new jobs that have been created over the last 25, 30 years. And this will continue. So you would see different jobs happening. So I think the fear that people have that you would be without a job, I think that is unfounded. and because I think it will be replaced with new jobs, but it's a process. So it's not today that tomorrow we will close the factories, it's automized. That's not happening. Well, one could question already low-cost labors, because let's be very frank, China has developed enormously, and I'm not sure if China is still considered even a low-cost labor country. I think that the future will be a little bit different. The future will be around delivery close to market. So you would see that companies, brands, are producing close to market. I give you an example which exists already longer than us as sporting goods. The car industry. Cars are not made in Germany and shipped to you necessarily. They are made in China. Volkswagen has a factory in China. Citroën has a factory in China. Why? Because they say it is not good to produce in France or in Germany and then send to China. Do they do some? Yes, there's a small quantity which is obviously traveling. But we are producing close to market. And I think for the sporting goods industry that will always remain. So my worries about China are not so big, because I think that China is a very big market, an important market. So we will always produce close to market. What is the advantage? We can react fast, delivery time is short, and we don't need to have an overstock of products. So that is what you would see, and China is definitely worldwide one of the markets where we will produce close to market. Obviously, there are no cheap labor countries left anymore. So I would say that somebody who is focusing on cheap labor makes a mistake. If he does, it's maybe 1 or 2 years and then it's gone. And I don't think that's the purpose anymore. We were a long time looking for cheap labor, and I do not think that today we're looking for cheap labor. Today, the aspects around manufacturing is much broader than labor. It's the whole supply chain, it is the delivery possibility, it is the close to market access. There's a whole bunch of other argumentations why we produce and how we produce. And labor, yes, it's important, but no, it is not major importance. And yes, you will see that certain roles will be taken over by robots or machineries, but no, we will still have factories with 10, 20, 30,000 employees in the next years. And we will go with the flow on the changes that are happening in society in general, because we are not driving the changes in society as sporting goods, but we're obviously following on the trends. It's a serious problem in China, but the government has been already reacting also serious on these issues. And we have a variety of things happening. First of all, we have misuse of intellectual property rights, meaning internet platforms that uses the name of Nike and Adidas to pull the audience, pull customers, but they don't do anything with Nike and Adidas, so they misuse the name. That's one thing. And then obviously we have the problem about people copying products in general. And the copying of products is obviously goes together with, on one side, the price of products and the importance of that brand that they are copying. So people like to copy maybe Adidas and Nike, but why don't you copy Mammut? Because maybe not so popular. Why don't you copy Völkel skis? Well, maybe not so popular. So people only copy products which are or normally very expensive, maybe expensive watch, maybe expensive bag, maybe expensive shoes, and that people cannot afford. So then you get a copy market. We're not happy with that at all, and we fight that actively. And we're happy that the Chinese government has also taken its part and its responsibility to basically fight these issues through law, but also I would say through education. Because I do think what is important to understand is that it makes no sense to copy one-on-one a product from Europe or America or anywhere out of the world and knowing that it is not your own product. It's not very creative, it's not very future-oriented, it's very short-term thinking. And this, I would say, is unfortunately the case. I saw a copy of a Porsche Macan. I saw a copy of a Land Rover Discovery, and then I was thinking, why do you do this? Why is that? Yes, but it's very cheap towards the real one. I said, okay, but it is not the real one. And it is not the same mechanics. It's not the same. So I think always it's important that the Chinese, and I think you have all capacities available in your country to create certain authenticity. So I think it's important to create heritage, but it needs also some education. So, but it's working in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go, I'm afraid. Yes, indirectly, yes. Obviously, every brand is responsible for his own protection. But obviously we have working groups where we are discussing obviously issues that are happening, where we're discussing how we can help the government, what kind of advice we can give certain governments, and this is not only in China, this happens in other countries in the world also. Maybe also to see how some of the registration of intellectual property right processes can be speeding up, because some countries are very slow in that process, others are faster in that process. So I would say there's a variety of things where we're trying to help and where we're trying to influence as a world federation. But I'm not responsible if Nike has registered their brand in China or in America or in Europe. That's their business to do. But the problem around the verification that the government laws are working, etc., there we try to help as a global, because everybody has the same interest. We would like to avoid copying of our products, and we would like to protect the intellectual property rights of our members.